increase or decrease our greenhouse gas emissions from transport?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, well, obviously it would decrease, but I think the member is arguing against the ETS with that question because presumably, as a member of the Green Party, he seeks to see the ETS introduced to raise the costs of fuel to encourage people more to use more public transport. And so suggesting that somehow that will reverse that situation is, I think, unfortunate logic.
Gareth Hughes.
The Minister correctly just then. And does the Minister believe that if fewer people take trains and buses and instead drive their cars, this will decrease our greenhouse gas emissions from transport?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
What you said.
Well, it all depends on the fuel efficiency of their cars, Mr. Speaker, I would have thought. And the ETS is designed to encourage fuel efficiency, and we have a continuing improvement of fuel efficiency in this country. If the member believes that he is going to solve the world's problems by shifting people away from their private forms of transport permanently onto public forms of transport, I think genuinely he'd be better to focus on improving fuel technologies and improving fuel efficiency of private vehicles, as this government is doing.
Gareth Hughes.
To the Minister, well, how can New Zealanders ever have other realistic choices to get around when his transport policy is skewed towards more motorways, more cars and more carbon?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I simply do not agree with that assertion for a couple of reasons. Firstly, the government is investing huge amounts of money, not just in public transport subsidies in Auckland and Wellington with the current projects in the passenger rail services in those two cities around the $2 billion price tag for the improved services there. But the reality remains, Mr. Speaker, that roughly, according to the last census, roughly 83% of New Zealanders travel by vehicles to and from work, another 1% by motorcycles, with much smaller numbers travelling by train and bus. Now, given that that's the reality of our transport choices, yes, we want to invest to improve public transport, but we must also invest in improved roads for the country as well.
Gareth Hughes.
How can his transport policy be balanced and equitable when only 1% of the transport budget is spent on walking and cycling, even though 10% of New Zealanders walk or cycle to work?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, it doesn't necessarily completely follow that just because a certain number of people walk or cycle that they then have to have special infrastructural improvements, because actually there isn't a capacity constraint on footpaths and cycleways, to my knowledge currently, where there is a capacity constraint in a lot of areas used by personal vehicles.
Gareth Hughes.
Can the Minister confirm that he could have spent several $1 million making walking and cycling safer and enjoyable in every town and city across the country for far less than the $2 billion he's about to spend on only 4 kilometres of motorway that will ruin an established community in Waterview?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, I would point out to the member that the government is investing approximately 50% more in walking and cycling facilities in the current 3-year period than was invested by the previous government. But I refer him back again to the realities of transport in New Zealand, and frankly the government is elected to represent the interests of all transport users, and approximately 83% of them in this country are road users through private passenger vehicles and motorbikes. They're entitled to their level of investment in the roading system, which I have to add, they pay for.
The Honourable Darren Hughes.
When the government decided to change the fare box policy for public transport and thereby increase the proportion that the travelling public pay for their fares while travelling on public transport, did he consult the National Party manifesto on transport policy at the last election, which made no reference to changing the fare box policy, thereby adding another increase to the cost of living of ordinary New Zealanders?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, I think if the member researches, he'll find that it didn't make mention of many aspects of transport policy, that particular part of the manifesto. But regardless of that, it is important to point out to the member that there must be an equitable contribution between ratepayers, taxpayers/road users and fare-paying passengers for public transport. And after consultation, the Transport Agency has determined that that would be about 50% in 8 years' time, down slightly from the current 54%.
Question number 5. Point of order, Gareth Hughes.
Mr. Speaker, I seek leave to table 3 documents. The first is a document from an NZTA board report that shows that requiring higher fares will result in a $64 million congestion reduction benefit to the Auckland region and only $8 million benefit.
Leave us sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is objection.
Point of order.
Gareth Hughes.
Sir, I seek leave to table another page from the same NZTA board report that states a fare increases
Order. Before we go any further, are these all from the same report?
Only two of them are, sir.
Because this habit of wanting to extend the tabling of documents by tabling one page and another page from the same report. If the member wants to table the report, fine. Seek leave to do it, but let's not just have endless pages. Point of order, Metiria Turei.
I appreciate your concern, sir, about misusing the tabling process, but my colleague has said that there are only, of the 3 documents he intends to table, only 2 come from the same document. It might be wise advice for the House as a whole, but he has sought leave, sir, and I would suggest that it would be wise to put that leave, or at least right to do so at this stage.
I've not denied putting leave for the member. I'm just pointing out for the future and for that member's attention too that I'm not happy about a process of taking more time of the House to try and score more political points through tabling individual pages. Leave to table documents relates to providing information to the House. And unless the document is a vast document, and then it's reasonable to seek to table pages, and I apologise if this is a vast document. But anyhow, leave is sought, if the member describes the second item you'd like to table,
Thank you,
please.
sir. I seek leave to table another page from the same NZTA document that states if fare increases, patronage will decrease.
Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is no objection.
Point of order. And my
Gareth
last paper,
Hughes.
sir, is a report from the Greater Wellington Regional Council that states that farebox recovery has nothing to do with efficiency and NZTA provides no evidence to support its fairness objective.
Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is no objection. Question number 5, Sewer William Seal.
Point of order, Mr.